Adesuwa McCalla, returning back to Manchester, would this have been at all possible here in your wildest dreams? I know you knocked on the doors of all those now involved and uniquely now placed literally quarter of a mile down the way from this office in Media City, BBC, ITV, Channel 4. I know you knocked on all of those doors. It was almost a favour that they not opened those doors to you.
Yes, I guess now looking back at
Understanding
it,
the whole philosophy of life,
yes.
that every negative is a positive and tragedy
Absolutely.
to opportunity.
Yes.
If they had not have made it so difficult, you wouldn't have then even considered it remotely possible to realise the impossible in many people's eyes here. But as you said in America, the dream can become a reality.
No, it's so funny. Last December was the 5th year anniversary of starting my own company, and my mum happened to be timely over at the same time, and so I had a cocktail party on this rooftop, and I remember just looking at my mum and standing there and all my clients and friends that had supported me along the way, and it was just a moment of like, as you are under the sun, standing here looking at this thing that had been built 5 years in, beyond my wildest dreams, and I know for sure that definitely could not have happened here. And the experiences that have surrounded it, people like Nina Shaw, who's one of the top entertainment lawyers, period. You don't even have to contextualize it by race or gender, but who have embraced me and took me under their wing and really been an amazing mentor and have enabled me to learn and grow and experience and meet other equally talented people like Keir Pearson. It's nothing could have coming from there.
What would be your message to young people who feel there is always an excuse for why they shouldn't push the boundaries, dare to dream, and sacrifice and struggle in order to achieve that vision they so richly want?
Gosh, I feel like every cliche that's, about the squeaky wheel and hard work, there are so many variations of it. There are African proverbs of it. There are old adages, but they last because they really do ring true. Like, it is truly about doing the work. And nothing that comes easy is really going to be of any lasting merit. And I think that you're defined by your failures a lot of times. I think that where the greatest lessons are in when you're getting the pushback. When you talked about the call that they were going to pull the scholarship and what it built in terms of resilience and tenacity. Again, it all comes, but all of that has to be done by just, at the end of the day, it comes back to doing the work, and it will materialize, but it requires sacrifice. It does.
And if you were now articulating a literary summary of the Youth Charter, how would you articulate it?
It's about taking passion. It's about taking passion and manifesting that into action. It is the simplest way to define it. Whether it's me wanting to go into university, or passion to get on a football field every day, whatever that is, and turning that into actionable, quantifiable impact.
And if there was one thing you wanted for the youth of Manchester knowing that you have truly taken a global dream to a local dream, to a global, realised and achieved, I think, place of value, significance, socially, culturally and economically, what would it be for the youth of Manchester?
I think travel. I mean, once again, these
So
older
that trip,
ages.
that trip,
Yeah,
that
travel.
trip to Los Angeles
Absolutely.
broadened the mind.
Yeah.
It gave you a perspective.
I think that broadened the mind, and then the UN trip was the
real game.
real game changer. You know, without the judge, it would be bad thinking of. I wouldn't even have thought about applying to Howard. Wasn't even on my radar until that conversation, and all the work that she's done. I think travel travel also helps, talking about that kind of more narrow-minded vision that the UK has, or the lack of that sense of optimism. I think travel makes you see beyond your own scope of your own world. And I think sometimes just your experiences, if you're in this space, it can kind of hem you in a little, whatever city you're in. It's not respective to Manchester. I think if you're just operating here, I think sometimes it's hard to see dreams beyond your own neighborhood. I remember a poem talking about UK being hemmed in by the sea, it was called. And I think you can be hemmed in by your own neighborhood that can it can strangle sometimes the idea of dream making. And I think when you travel and you see folks that are much more worse off than you, but are making it happen, can also be a motivation. And then you can go to places the opposite of that, where which is like the LA trip, where there's so much happening that you then say, okay, well, there was my bar. Well, forget that. Let's move it up. I think that's it. That's the really at the beginning of it all. And then, then it becomes back to just doing the work.
I upon preparing for the late Dame Mary Glenn Haig's memorial, went through some of those LA photos, and I remember conveying to a very unique audience of the great and the good, an establishment of British sport, how unique she was in her ability to engage with young people. What were your early memories of Dame Mary?
I think, when you hear the word dame, before, when you're meeting anyone as a young person, it automatically there's a statue there that, words like inaccessible, lofty, removed, and she was the antithesis of everything you could think of, every single word and more. So warm and open and genuine and truly concerned, and was not hemmed in seemingly by any boundary, division of any kind. She was truly a woman when you talk about a woman of the world, what that means, she was the epitome of that.